Hey guys, how you doing today? Welcome to the video. Today we're covering the Rime Necromancer, so hope you guys enjoy. Let me scout out a bit further away from the Griffin. I know he likes to flap his wings a lot there. So yeah, I want to go ahead and go over cover the Rime Necromancer in this video. So if you guys enjoyed the talents that were being shown beforehand, some of this stuff will also make sense along the way. Again, I'm just going to try to cover surface level stuff. I'm not going to get too in detail because there's so much different variations and different numbers at play. This is a testing phase right now in COA, so I will be showcasing a few of the abilities later on. So there will be a lot more things to go through with each of these classes and their specializations, but I'll give just surface level stuff and showcase a few of the abilities for Rime Necromancer, which will be right after this video. So I just got a Titan Scroll Norganon. Thank you guys, I appreciate that. So what's up with the Rime Necromancer? Basically, for what I come to find about it is it's pretty awesome spec, a different flair to what we have come to know as the Frost Mage. For those of you who have played Warcraft for a long time, you'd see that there's a lot of like slow and somewhat AoE abilities. Well, the Rime Necromancer covers that largely. I guess one of the iconic things I could say about the Rime Necromancer is the fact that you can turn into a Lich. So you have basically a Lich form. So that's pretty interesting right there. The model looks pretty good. So we'll get into the description with the sample spells, as I said. So when you play Necromancer, you do come across the screen once you're level 10. I did say that I was going to read the sample spells out to you, so here we are with that. So right here, we'll start off. You have Lich form. You transform into a Lich, causing frost damage dealt to have 60% chance to apply Death Chill, dealing 49 frost damage, stacking up 10 times for 15 seconds. At 10 stacks of Death Chill, they are consumed and you deal an additional 66 frost damage to the enemy and regenerates 152 mana. So I don't think you could ever go wrong with a Lich form. Probably the only question would be, why are you not in Lich form, when you're fighting? It's just maybe a little reminder to shapeshift back and forth. I'm not sure if there's any real benefit to being outside of Lich form while in combat, but either way it goes, it's still pretty interesting to have. And there's also a nice, mana regeneration mechanic to it, as we're showing it right now. So moving forward to the next ability, we do have Grave Mage. So this has been moved, from what I observed, to be a Rime-specific Raise ability. Basically, it teaches you Raise Grave Mage and Command Grave Mage. So the names sound a little bit repetitive. The main thing is the Raise and the Command. That's really the difference there. So with Raise Grave Mage, basically it costs 1 life force, aids you in combat, and they strike multiple targets with their attacks. So I think there's a level of cleaving that goes on when it comes to Grave Mage, which we will sample in a short bit. The command for Grave Mage, basically you deal 246 frost damage to an enemy and enemies within 6 yards of them, reducing movement speed by 40% for 8 seconds, usable while casting or channeling. So this is definitely awesome to have. It's on the fly, kind of slow, or basically, was it a root? No, it's a movement slow, a movement reduction. So it's pretty good to have right off the spot. As long as you have runic power, you should be good, which is never a problem because you have also glacial tap, which we gone over in the level 1 through 10 video. And then we have here Ice Barrage, which there is more information, but it costs 10 runic power. So Ice Barrage, you blast an enemy for 120 frost damage and generate a stack of Glacial Shift. So it shows what Glacial Shift does. Basically increases the cost of your Lich Frost by 5 and the damage by 5% for 8 seconds, stacking up to 8 times. At 2 or more stacks, Lich Frost cleaves up to 3 enemies. So basically your Lich Frost, or your runic power generator, has an ability to cleave as well. guys for, by the way, sticking around. Let me know what you think in the comments below, and we'll get on to the next talent. So the next one would be either your choice of a passive, these two here, and then from there you'll decide the rest of your build from that point. But I'll read over these two. So you have a Glacier Lord. This is a, you have two, what do you call it, 2 points worth within this talent. So basically increases the duration of your Glacial Shift by 2 seconds, and the damage of Ice Barrage by 10%. So let's look over Glacial Shift real quick. So one thing to note with this Glacial Lord talent, basically it benefits your very first talent, or active talent, right above here. So as we read before, basically you get a stack of Glacial Shift when you use Ice Barrage, right? So the next thing is basically Glacial Shift stays on longer, and it has a chance to cleave on enemies, doing, increased damage. So that's pretty interesting, and the fact that there's 2 of them, so you could basically enhance this further should you choose to put 2 points in it. You also have Crown's Call, so your command spells now reduces the cost of your next Ice Barrage by 100%. So Ice Barrage, as we started off, is right here, and basically your command spells are all of the spells that come from your minions, right? So if you have your Abomination out, it's your command Abomination spell. If you have your Skeletal Archers, it's your command Skeletal Archer spell. But yeah, a lot of words. If you have Skeletal Warriors, it's your command Skeletal Warrior spells. But basically, whatever Skeletal command or whatever command spells that you have, Crown's Call basically amplifies that with your next Ice Barrage. Yeah, there's a 0.95 second cast. It does cost runic power. Basically, it's going to be free. So you'll basically have more runic power available to you however the fight goes. So guys, just a few other talents I'll go ahead and commentate on very briefly is Death and Ice. This is one of the other talents that you'll find a little later on. It says here, each Grave Mage now increases the critical strike chance of Ice Barrage and Ice Quake by 3%. So just the mere presence, just the mere, number of Grave Mages that you have will add into basically the beneficial effect of Ice Barrage and Ice Quake. The critical strike chance being enhanced by each Grave Mage that you have. So that's pretty interesting to know, just something to keep in mind. So like maybe when you're in dungeons, for me I got Decaying Colossus as my frontliner. That's a different raise ability, but my other frontline is Abomination, as you all come to know, right? That consumes 2 life force, so more handy when you're out in solo. But just having Grave Mages, again, you guys could choose however you want to build your army, but there's definitely an effect if you have all 3, or basically more Grave Mages with this particular talent, Death and Ice. Yeah. Alright, so the next talent here is Deathly Chill. Critical strikes with frost damage now increase critical damage by 10% for 10 seconds. So basically in this talent, what's happening is whenever I do frost damage, if I critical strike, basically the amount of damage that I do in that critical strike will spike up by an additional 10%, if I'm tracking this correctly. So we have Refreshing Chill, which it says here, damage dealt by undead minions and Ice Barrage now has a 10% chance to reset the cooldown of Arctic Blast and make the next cast within 8 seconds instant. So pretty cool. Basically, the more damage that your minions are doing, you're basically going to be able to use Ice Barrage to allow your Arctic Blast to be used a bit more often, which is pretty interesting actually. So this is, I think, largely single target abilities. So your Ice Barrage basically helps you get more Glacial Shift, as we come to know already. But basically, with that being that Ice Barrage is being used more, your Arctic Blast becomes more useful. You generate more runic power, and it does 811 frost damage every time you use Arctic Blast. So this is pretty beneficial, this spell, Refreshing Chill. So with the class talent tree, the specialization, you do start with a number of active spells right off the bat. I kind of went more on this direction. Again, my build will not be everyone else's build. I don't even know if this build will even exist by the time you guys get your hands on it. But for those who are interested, thought I'd mention it. At the current moment, this is what I got. Alright, so we did go over Ice Barrage, and we're going to go over Arctic Blast. But this one is what you start off with, as you saw covered in your sample abilities, or sample spells. So now you have Arctic Blast. Okay, so that will be pretty much your next talent. You'll hurl a massive shard of ice at an enemy, dealing 308 frost damage and generating 30% of your missing runic power. So this is pretty nice to keep the runic power going, so that way you're not consuming too much mana on your Lich Frost. So that's pretty interesting. So yeah, one thing I like about this ability is just the fact that you're able to do frost damage while also generating some missing runic power, which is pretty interesting. That's a very unique mechanic right there. But I do want to mention that as far as what these spells look like and how they perform in combat, I'll go ahead and show that with a few other talent abilities in the video right after this. So with Bone Freeze, the active ability here, you chill the bones of an enemy up to 2 nearby enemies, dealing 214 shadow damage, freezing them in place for 4 seconds. So this is a direct route, and it could cleave to at least 2 nearby enemies, which is definitely always handy to have. It is an instant cast actually, but you do gotta be mindful there is a 25-second cooldown on that, but it is pretty helpful to have a route on demand. That's definitely interesting to have. And something to keep in mind, when you freeze enemies, there's a lot of talents that play off or add in onto that. So definitely keep an eye out for talents that have frost-oriented effects, as far as like rooting them or freezing them in place. So adding on to that, guys, the following talents do add in on the frozen effect that I was talking about with Rime Necromancer, this is what I find to be really nice about the Rime Necromancer. The next talent here being Glacial Impact. So just a quick read on that. It's 258 mana. This is an active ability as well, like the rest of them. It's an instant cast, 45-second cooldown. You call down icy boulders from the sky onto a frozen enemy, dealing 1,194 frost damage to them and up to 8 enemies within 5 yards. Each additional target struck takes 12% less damage. So a quick note here, guys, is just the more enemies you have surrounding the initial target here, the more there will be a reduction in damage, but nonetheless I've seen this ability clear waves of enemies along with everything else. Going on, it says damage of this ability is increased by your critical strike rating, guaranteed to critically strike. So yeah, Glacial Impact is definitely pretty awesome of an ability. I'll go ahead and demonstrate it like the rest of these abilities in the video afterward. And so going forward, we do have Icequake. This does cost 35 runic power, and there's an 8-second cooldown on this, so you could use this pretty often. And this is what I was talking about as far as clearing waves. It says here, impale up to 8 enemies within 40 yards affected by Death Chill for 198 frost damage. So definitely useful in large packs, especially when you're in those dungeons or other content where there's multiple enemies all bunched up, or just in case when you're questing. This really adds into helping clear the enemies that you're facing. One of the things about Icequake is that this pairs well with the Death Chill talent that we got earlier, which is a passive, which basically any critical strike damage that you do with Frost, your Frost abilities, which largely is the majority of your abilities as a Rime Necromancer, Deathly Chill basically enhances it to critically strike for 10% more damage. So when you pair the two together, you got some serious damage going all around. So guys, after this video, I do want to mention that I will be going over some of these abilities. I don't have every single one, as you're going to see, but the ones that I do have, largely I will be displaying what they look like in combat. So definitely stay around for that. For those of you who's been with us for a while, I do want to say thank you. So, in general, guys, with the Rime Necromancer, I've come to really enjoy this specialization as I was playing through it. Just the level of roots, snares, you got stuns of different sorts. You also have your Necromancer ability, your command abilities with each of your raise spells as well. So all your minions have something to bring to the table as well. Largely the Grave Mage, there's a lot of benefit having them out. But overall, there's no shortage of AoE as well. Critical Strike seems to be the priority with Rime Necromancers. So I find that to be very interesting. There's a lot of utility within the spec, let alone the spec itself, but also what Rime Necromancer brings in. So I believe there's a lot more tactics of survival. So especially in group environments, the damage that you bring alone is just pretty insane. So I happen to enjoy this specialization, in particular. All of them are enjoyable, in my opinion. I'm going to say that with every specialization. I'm impressed with what's been just put out there in general with COA, so that I don't mean to make that sound repetitive, but it is what it is. So definitely the theme is there with Necromancer. This is the last specialization that I'm covering across all three of them, and it's just been pretty interesting to see Necromancers on all sides. Again, there are many talents. I didn't cover every single one, but I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Let me know what you guys think. I'll definitely go ahead and show the abilities in demonstration after this video here. Thank you guys, and we'll catch you on the other side.